Monday was Ikebana. Tuesday was calligraphy. Then Wednesday was swimming. When I went into the building that day, the girl was pressed to the window, looking down at the pool. Her jet black hair swayed like seaweed behind her. I was thinking about ignoring her, but she immediately turned around. "Oh, it's my bestie, Saki-san." Do you really need to say it like that? Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the receptionist lady chuckling. I felt a little embarrassed. Don't say it so loud. But you might not be able to hear it if I say it too quiet. It's not like I want to hear it. She seemed happy as she came up to me, grinning without a care in the world. I'm just excited, that's all. Don't you have other friends? I do, at school. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm happy that I get to be friends with you, Saki-san. Right. I remember the conversation I had with my grandmother a few days ago. It really was embarrassing when someone said something like that to you outright. I had no idea how to respond. Unlike a grown-up, she had no tact at all. As we passed by the vending machine, she turned around towards it. That drew my attention too, so I looked back to hear the machine droning and glittering, as always. Maybe later, I guess. More importantly, it seems like you'd have a ton of friends, Saki-san. Why would you think that? Because you're cute. She said it shamelessly, and I nearly turned away on sheer instinct. It felt as though all the air that had been in my lungs was rushing to my head. Trying to let go without making a big deal about it, I slowly breathed out all that air. I'm actually quite bad at making friends. It's easy to call someone a friend, but it doesn't mean you value all of your friends equally. Some people might have really close friends, but they probably have just as many friends who don't amount to much more than acquaintances. All of my friends probably fell into the latter camp. Really? She mumbled, and then broke out into a smile, as if she just thought of something. You should just fix the bad parts of you then. I don't mind those parts of me, even if they are bad. I was learning things that friends couldn't teach me through books and grown-ups. That was much more valuable to me, and I didn't have enough time for both. She tilted her head like she didn't understand at all. Everything you say sounds so smart. Sure. I wanted to become a person who said smart things, so that was fine. You probably get really good grades on tests, right? She changed the subject almost immediately. Oh, no, wait. I guess we were still talking about me. She appeared to want to get to know me, but I didn't understand why. Was it because we were friends? That seemed like putting the cart before the horse. I guess I do all right. I didn't know whether saying yes, always, would have been acceptable, so I just answered vaguely. Even when I opened the door to the changing room and went inside, the girl just would not shut her mouth. The lighting inside the changing room seemed bright to my eyes, making me squint. I really admire smart people, because I'm pretty dumb. Talk about an unspeakably bad self-introduction. I opened my locker. Hers was 4 places over, putting a strange distance between us. Maybe I should say something back. I hesitated as I got my swimsuit ready. Finally, I decided I should probably at least try, so I opened my mouth. If you try your best, your test scores will work themselves out. You think so? The girl wrinkled her nose. Then, she suddenly looked up. Wait, I wonder if I just need to be more serious about that too. Maybe, I agreed, feeling more than a little worried about her future. I finished changing ahead of the girl, who chatted the entire time. She stopped getting ready and stared straight at me. When my eyes met with hers, She got flustered and turned back to her locker. I felt a sense of déjà vu. I wonder what that was about. There was something mysterious about the way she sometimes looked at me, I thought as I headed towards the pool. Hey, wait up! What's the point of waiting for you when the pool is right over there? Yeah, I guess so, but still. It seemed like she was fighting with her shirt, which had gotten stuck to her back with sweat. I didn't have a reason to wait around for her, so I started going ahead. Wait, bestie! Now I really had zero desire to wait for her. When I got out to the pool, the humidity enveloped my skin all at once. Even when the air conditioning on, the mugginess always got worse by the pool. I walked to the side of the pool and looked up at the big window pane overhead. My eyes fell on the spot where the girl had been pressed up against it not long before. I wonder what she was looking at from up there. The only thing swimming in the empty pool was a bunch of ripples. The girl came over right as I was showering off and kept hopping around as she got ready. I know this is weird for me to say, but she seemed really childish, or at least weirdly energetic. I guess she must have been in a good mood. While I was putting on my swim cap and watching her, one of the instructors came over to me and addressed me quietly, with a curious glance towards the girl. Saeki, did you say something to her? He was probably referring to how she was actually listening to directions now. No, not really. It was a white lie. I really hadn't expected my words to have that much impact. I thought that maybe you gave her a warning, Sensei, I added, even though I hadn't really. I did think that would have made more sense. The instructor answered with an honest, no, it wasn't me. I was a little taken aback. But it's a good thing, right? Yeah, it's just that I can't really teach her at an intermediate level. Huh? Because her form is already so perfect. The instructor scratched his head as though he were at a loss. Then he took a look at me and smiled. But I definitely like when kids listen to directions, of course. Mm-hmm. He was trying to smooth things over for me. I guess that made him a good grown-up. Her form is perfect. Those were nice words that I'd heard many times at my lessons, but never during swimming class. That probably had less to do with whether I was well suited to swimming, and more with the fact that there was someone else who was better than me all along. During our swim instruction, I tried to follow the girl with my eyes. Whenever she started swimming, I sank under water and watched her through my goggles. It probably looked a little suspicious, I suppose. I also watched her when we swam next to each other, and when we passed each other. She would disappear ahead of me, always followed by bubbles. But even after watching her the whole time, I couldn't figure out what it was about her form that was so perfect. It was just that her arms and legs moved nimbly, like she had no trouble cutting through the water, her shoulders just naturally rotating to propel her forward. Maybe it was the way she never faltered. Since I was watching her, our eyes met a lot. That meant she must have been looking at me too. Whenever our eyes locked, she would smile at me and wave her hand, and I had no idea how to respond. Shoulder deep in the water, I brought my left arm close to me as though I were cradling it. I could feel the distance between us, and it was growing. How much hard work on my part would it take to surpass her talent? I had so many other lessons. The time I could spend on this was limited. I wasn't sure if I could overtake her at all, and even if I did hypothetically surpass her, there was a chance I would just be behind another person. If I had to just repeat that forever, maybe there was no security to be found in the first place after all. Saki-san, you want something to drink? Right as I left the changing room, the girl came up beside me, like she had rushed to follow me. Wait, your shirt. The bottom of her shirt was rolled up, exposing the right side of her stomach. Clearly, she had been in a rush. Sighing, I reached over and tugged the shirt back into place. She pushed her wet hair off her neck. Well, come on. She spun around and made her way in front of me, then pointed at the vending machine in the hall. A drink, I repeated. Which one do you want? Ignoring my question, she jumped right ahead to the next one. I'm fine. I don't have any money on me anyway. As if she had anticipated this, the girl proudly stuck out her chest. Then she tapped the vending machine lightly, as if to say that I could just leave everything to her. It's my treat. For some reason, she looked pleased with herself, as though she was expecting me to be impressed. Her eyes sparkled brighter than the lights on the vending machine. I accepted the challenge, and used the school backpack she wore against her. You're not supposed to carry money around at school. I'm not? Her eyes went wide, like it was the first time she'd ever heard of such a thing. I'd always assumed that it was a rule, and I thought I remembered someone telling me so, but maybe I was wrong. Come on, it's fine, she wheedled, giving me a friendly pat on the shoulder. When she moved, a drop of water flew off her bangs and hit me in the face. I was getting vaguely annoyed. No thanks. Why not? I don't need you to treat me. I didn't want to be in debt to this girl, or anyone else for that matter. Plus, if we started to do little things like this for each other, we might end up actually becoming close. Okay, then I'll just buy a drink for myself, and you can have a little. The girl tugged on my sleeve to stop me from leaving. I didn't know what to make of that, so all I could do was stop. A little? Yeah, or a lot, if you want. That's not the problem. I looked at the girl. The look on her face was clingy, pleading. She was basically making puppy dog eyes at me. I wish the cats treated me like this. My grandmother's voice echoed in the back of my mind. Right, friends. Breathing out a sigh, I sat down on the bench next to the vending machine, realizing that this was my way of answering her. The girl broke into a smile. Are you okay with carbonation? Sure. The girl pushed a button. Glancing over, I saw that the button she had picked was under the red paper carton. Isn't that apple juice, though? Yep. Then why did you ask about carbonation? I was just curious. The girl sat down next to me. She stuck the straw in and drank a little before handing it to me. Here you go. Thanks. I hesitated. This was my first time doing something like this with someone outside of my family. The red carton in my hand was cold, but it felt nice. The straw had vertical blue stripes. I glanced at the girl, who looked back at me oddly, so I put the straw to my lips. Immediately, the sweet, tart taste filled my mouth. I was definitely thirsty after getting out of the pool, so the excessive sweetness was a welcome surprise. Even so, I took care not to drink too much of it. As I gave the paper carton back to her, a small thought came into my mind, so I decided to ask about it. Have you been swimming a long time? Because it seems like you're really good at it. Only took you long enough to listen to directions. She took the juice back and answered, I've been coming here for about a year now. I just like being in the water. Her eyes and mouth crinkled into a grin. There was a shine to her damp hair that looked nice with her tan skin. Lately, I've been liking it even more. She leaned against the back of the bench and I looked up, taking a deep breath and releasing it. I see. Want some more? I took the juice she offered, drank some, and gave it back. The cold sensation trickled down my throat, and as I took a breath, I felt myself calming down a little. Do you live nearby, Saeki-san? It's about 15 minutes walk. Hey, that's pretty close. I bet your house is big too. I didn't really understand how those things were related. But she wasn't exactly wrong either. I gave her a look that asked why she thought that. Because you just kind of seem like a rich girl. Really? I wanted to ask what made her think that. But I remembered our front gate, and that she was more or less correct. For one thing, as far as I could tell from my conversations with friends, it seemed like having a maid was unusual. Have you ever been to a family restaurant? Are you making fun of me? I acted insulted. But the truth was that I really hadn't. My family had never taken me, so there was that. I had seen them before, of course. Summer vacation is coming up. Got any plans? She wasn't even drinking her juice anymore, just chatting away. Her expressions changed widely from moment to moment. Homework and lessons. But isn't that what you always do? Look, are you going to drink your juice or not? The girl looked down at the carton she was holding. She started to bring it up to her mouth, but seemed to reconsider and pulled it away. You want some? Just drink it, I told her. She had bought it for herself after all. But for some reason, her eyes wandered, as if she was nervous. Right, she answered vaguely. Her fingers fiddled with the carton, pushing it back and forth. But once I finish drinking it, well, you know, right? Know what? I didn't know what she was saying, or what she was getting so hung up about. The girl pouted unhappily. Once I finish drinking it, you'll probably go home. Yes, of course I will. She brought her face closer to mine. The smell of chlorine hit my nose all at once. This is the only time I get to see you, so I wanted to talk about lots of stuff. I could clearly see her red tongue moving, a sharp contrast to her suntanned skin. She just wanted to talk to me. How long had it been since someone at school had come to me with such a request? Well, I wish I could go to the same school as you, Saeki-san. Before I could say anything, she drew back and stretched, releasing this lament. She wanted to be at the same school as me. I could easily imagine her coming up to me while I was studying and chatting endlessly. It was probably for the best that she couldn't, I thought. But when her eyes met mine, she grinned, as if she didn't realize how I felt about it at all. It was bright and friendly, sort of like the way my grandfather smiled. But it was something more important than that, something I needed to ask her no matter what. Listen, why do you like me so much? I hadn't known this girl for long, and we hadn't had a chance to get to know each other. So much so that this was the most we had ever talked to each other. The only sides of her I knew were how unserious she was, and how she got uncomfortably close and acted like she knew me, and I honestly hated all of that about her. Or at least, I had until about 2 weeks ago. Despite all that, she was clearly very fond of me. We seemed to have completely contradictory opinions of each other, so I couldn't help being curious. When I asked her that, she looked down at her hands, which were wet from the condensation on the carton. Well, all this time, the girl looked at me. I wasn't sure if she was aware of this, but her face and lips were screwed up tight, almost like she was in pain. Whenever I see you, my palms get all hot. It's been like that since the first time I saw you. And then my back feels hot too. I start to feel sweaty and I can't seem to stop it. I don't feel like that when I see anyone or anything else, only with you, Saeki-san. So I always thought there must be something special about you. The words spilled out all at once, as though she were exposing everything that had been pent up inside of her. The part about feeling hot seemed to be true, because her cheeks were faintly red, like they were on fire. She bent forward, as she was pleading for something. She was so close. My shoulders froze, like I'd been exposed to a strong headwind. Those things that the girl felt. I didn't have any personal experience with them, but I felt like I knew what they were. But it was an impossible combination. I mean, the girl next to me was a girl, and so was I. So why do you think I feel like that? The girl leaned so far forward that she nearly pitched over, looking at me for an answer. Don't ask me, I thought. I'm not sure. I'm not the one who feels that way, so I have no idea. I turned my face away as I lied. I'm sure I wouldn't have known what it was if I was in her place either. Right, the girl smiled meekly. I thought you might know, since you're so smart. Don't be ridiculous. I might know a lot, but I still have lots and lots to learn. For one thing, I hadn't realized that someone who seemed so close by was actually walking so far ahead of me. In the way she had bared her soul to me just now, I was starting to fear this girl more and more. Right, she mumbled again, looking up. Neither of us touched what was left of the juice. The girl swept her wet hair aside, tucking it behind her ear. I like being in the water, she said softly. You just told me that. The girl giggled. Well, if I'm in the pool, I don't feel as hot when I look at you. With that, she closed her eyes, almost as though she were about to sleep. It was like she had said all she needed to say and was satisfied now. How selfish she was. I felt equal amounts of resentment and embarrassment bubbling up with me. Is she being serious? Could she really be that oblivious? Either way, facing her directly was too much right now. I couldn't move away, so I tilted my head down and looked away. Now it felt as if the muscles in my neck were becoming hot too. A chill ran down my spine, filling my restless body with something like fear. As I sat there, I could hear something joining the hum of the vending machine. A low murmur arising inside me because of the girl at my side. That something, which I couldn't quite pick out, was like the sound of the waves on a wide, sandy beach. The indistinct sound took on a shape that was neither a triangle nor a rectangle, as it tried to tell me something. But I couldn't find the answer before it melted into the bubbling heat.